Hey guys, it's Obsolete here, back with another video. The Calamity Mod adds loads of new content to the game, which includes new bosses, ores, and of course, new weapons. The Calamity Mod currently adds nearly 800 new weapons to Terraria, ranging from melee weapons, summoner weapons, and even weapons that are considered classless, belonging to no class at all. Some of the weapons within the mod are fairly simple, while others are super unique and have some really interesting interactions with the world around you. Today we are going over the 5 most unique Calamity Mod weapons. Now because this mod adds so many unique weapons to the game, this list was pretty difficult, so as always this is just my opinion, and I would love to hear what you guys think in the comment section down below. Let's go ahead and get into our 5th spot. Taking the 5th spot on our list is the Sulfurous Grabber. This is a hard mode yo-yo that is dropped from Sulfurous Skaters. When the yo-yo is used, it will sometimes release 9 damaging bubbles that can either be green or purple. If the player then uses the yo-yo and hovers over one of the green bubbles, it will cause the yo-yo to deal increased damage and also release more bubbles, allowing you to continue the cycle if you are skilled enough. This weapon is pretty unique as it has its own little built-in minigame that you can do in order to increase your damage if you can handle it while fighting, and it can also be used without doing it as well, just for decreased damage. This minigame makes it fairly unique. As far as I know, this is one of the only weapons to have something like this within the mod, which is why it takes the 5th spot on my list. Taking the 4th spot on our list is the Endogenesis. This item is dropped by Supreme Calamitous at a 5% drop rate, and it requires 10 minion slots to use. When used, it summons an ice construct that has 4 different modes. Each of the modes has a different attack that the summon will perform, and the mode can be switched by using the weapon again. The 4 modes are the following: firing lasers at nearby enemies that infinitely pierce, launching several homing icicle shards, ramming enemies, and firing flames in all directions. All the modes inflict various ice debuffs on enemies. This summoner weapon is the first of its kind, and for a summoning weapon to have different modes, allowing you to choose the best mode for whatever situation or boss battle you may be in is a very powerful tool, and it's also a very unique feature that I have yet to see in any other mod I have played, which is why Endogenesis takes the 4th spot on my list. Taking the 3rd spot on our list is the Molecular Manipulator. This weapon is crafted by various post-Moonlord materials and uses the player's life as ammo. When used, the weapon will deal 5 damage to the player and will even kill the player if it takes them below 0 health. Each shot with this weapon has a chance to alter the target in one of 10 ways, which can be the following: grow 500% bigger, shrink 90% smaller, deal more damage, deal less damage, become immune to knockback, remove all knockback resistances, increase defense, reduce defense, get propelled upward, and lastly get propelled to the side. This weapon is very unique as the effects can create some interesting and one-of-a-kind situations, such as making enemies super small or super big, and you never really know what is going to happen when you use this weapon. And as far as I know, this is the only weapon in the game that uses your health as a resource, and one that you can actually defeat yourself with, which is the first that I've seen in Terraria, which is why it takes the 3rd spot on my list. Taking the 2nd spot on our list is the Final Dawn, a rogue weapon dropped by Yaron at a 33% drop rate in expert mode. When used, it charges up and swings a large scythe that damages enemies and replenishes 40% of the player's rogue stealth. If the player holds the up key while charging the scythe, it'll be thrown like a boomerang instead of swung. If the player uses a stealth strike with this weapon, a horizontal flame aura will spawn that lingers for a few seconds, dealing damage to all nearby enemies caught inside. If the player uses a stealth strike while holding up, the player will be flung into the direction of the cursor while damaging enemies the player contacts on the way. This weapon is very unique as although this item is a rogue weapon, it functions quite differently compared to rogue class weapons, basically being a combination of a melee weapon and a rogue weapon all in one. That combined with having 2 stealth strikes makes it so the weapon has 4 different attacks the player can use at any time. This weapon is quite similar to the Endogenesis, but to me it is more unique and a lot more interactive compared to it, which is why it takes the 2nd spot on my list. And lastly, taking the 1st spot on our list is none other than the Flamsteed Ring. It is a craftable post-Moonlord summon weapon. When used, the player is turned into a giant robot, and while in this form, most of their weapons are transferred into attacks with one of 3 modes. One of the modes lets you shoot lasers and swing a sword, while being large and dealing more damage. The other lets you shrink yourself and shoot lasers and use your sword at the cost of reduced damage. And the last one lets you turn yourself into a jet that you can control by using the mouse cursor to quickly move around while also being a very small size, but you cannot attack. This is the very first item to allow the player to become something new within the mod, which acts as basically a mount. It allows you to basically shapeshift while doing massive damage to enemies with your sword and range attacks, while also offering some extra mobility and other features as bonuses. Shrinking yourself is something I didn't know that was possible in Terraria, and I think it could be very good for bosses that shoot a lot of projectiles at the player, and I feel like this could be really useful for future bosses added within the mod. The features combined with how this type of thing hasn't been seen before in Calamity is why it took the first spot on my list. That is all for today's video, guys. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, and also comment down below what you think is the most unique weapon in the mod, and also consider subscribing if you want more Terraria Calamity Mod content like this. Thank you guys for watching.